Hello, everyone. I hope they can hear me well. As a standard startup, let me just ask you if you can hear me well and let me know where you're joining us from today. It's 6 p.m. where we're at. Hopefully it's a bit earlier at your place and the weather is slightly better than what we have right now. So today we've got a plan to have a webinar that's going to last for around 45 minutes. I think it might be slightly shorter if we are quite quick with going through our presentations. We'll have a Q&A session afterwards, so don't worry if you don't hear an answer from us right away. You can also ask the question later on, but don't worry about it. We have my colleague Eric joining us here at the chat as well, so in case you have any questions, let us know. Oh, I can see people from Seattle, California, Richmond, Bangalore, South Africa. Okay, so everyone's from all over the place. Some people from Brussels as well. Awesome. So I'm guessing the weather that is quite similar to ours, so I'm not feeling that bad myself right now. So as I said, the plan is to have it for 45 minutes, and we'll be recording the whole thing. So don't worry if you're joining us late, if you don't hear everything well, or you have a baby to put to sleep. We'll be sharing the recording later on via email. So you'll get all the information that you need later to check out at your own convenience. So without further ado, today we have a special guest, Sunit Bhatt from Crazy Egg. He's the general manager for Crazy Egg. My name is Michael Leszczynski. I'm the content marketing manager at GetResponse. And today we've got a special topic for you, which is what happens between clicks and conversions. And we'll be looking at landing page optimization 101, but we'll be going through different aspects of landing page optimization. I don't think it's something that you've listened to in the past. I think the approach that we took here is slightly different. So hopefully you'll be as interested in it as we were when we were preparing the presentation. So once again, thanks for joining us today from all the wonderful places around the world, and let's begin the presentation. So at the beginning of this topic, what happens between clicks and conversions, when we're talking about landing page optimization, most of the people just think of one major funnel that they have prepared in their company. Most of your traffic comes through one specific funnel. But at the same time, if you look into Google Analytics and check out the sources of your traffic, it appears that there are so many more different ways that people can enter your website, enter your landing pages, and interact with your brand. And it's interesting that if you combine those things together, all those different sources, all those different customer journeys that your customers have, they might actually be as important as your main funnel, the one that you're usually optimizing for. So one of my first questions and requests for you is to focus on all the customer journeys that you have and consider all the different ways people can interact with your brand. If you look at landing pages, you might be thinking that they are usually the very first thing people see in their journey. But if you think about it twice or for a longer period of time, it sometimes is that people first see your ad. Let's say they do it on Facebook. They see a special ad, they click on it, then they go onto a landing page, then they sign up to, let's say, to your email list, and then again they go to another landing page that has a specific upsell offer. That's one way to do it, but at the same time, there's some other ways to do it. Some people will be entering their search term in Google or Bing or whatever search engine they're using. They'll go to your homepage, either through an organic result or a paid one. They'll enter their email address because they wanted to sign up to your newsletter, and only afterwards they'll go to your landing page. Again, you have a different scenario where someone suggests your email subscription, your newsletter, to a friend of theirs or their colleague. They send over the recommendation, hey, you should check out this newsletter, it's got great content. You might want to benefit from it, you might want to read it. So you see the email first, then you go to a landing page where you decide to check out the offer, and then eventually you might go to your homepage. And there are many other ways to actually interact with the brand. There are different customer journeys, and if you look at all of them at the same time, it appears that the people that go to your website, to your landing pages, or to your emails, they all have different intents, they have different intentions, and they might be at different stages of the customer journey. So people that, for example, in the second scenario, the ones that Google their search and they enter their search term, they might already recognize that they have a problem, that they want to find a solution. They type in, let's say, free antivirus software. But the other people that got an email first from their colleague or friend, and they later on went to the landing page, they might have been at a different time, at a different stage. So you have to recognize that all these people will have different intention, they will have different motivations, and they will need something different from you when you're optimizing landing pages, your emails, and entire customer journeys. So today, for my part, and Sunit will be taking over at a later moment, for my part, I want to bring your attention to the optimization of the entire customer journey, but mostly thinking about the email, which usually is the one that precedes the landing page. It isn't always the case, but it often is. And since we're working in the email marketing environment very often, my idea for this part of the presentation is for you to realize that emails and landing pages cannot go without each other, because you shouldn't be looking at one particular channel only. You should be looking at all of them at the same time because they carry on the same message. And as you're going to see in a second, it's actually going to all make sense in a moment. So when you're designing your customer journeys for your audience, you should be thinking about matching your email campaigns with landing pages. And the number one way to do it is by keeping the scent. And different marketers are going to have a different meaning for the word scent. My suggestion here is to actually show you an example. And since this example is in Polish, it's going to be much easier for me to actually demonstrate that for you, because you will not understand a single word from that page that you're going to see. This is a homepage of an e-commerce store in Poland. Since most of you don't understand what it says, I'm just going to assume that you don't even know the brand, which is good. But let's take a look at what else they're doing. This is their homepage. Now, this is their email. You signed up to their newsletter, you get the email. You instantly recognize, probably, I'm going to assume that, you instantly recognize that this is an email sent from that brand. Even though you don't know what they do, you can see that the color scheme, the CTAs and stuff like this is quite similar. You can see that this sender is actually that brand. Then you check out the text message that they send you, because they ask you for a few things when you were registering for an account or purchasing something. One interesting thing that they do is that they track their links within those text messages. So later on in Google Analytics, they'll know exactly that people came from additional channel, which is usually by default set up in Google Analytics. So you have that, and also in the text message, you can see that they're using capitalized text, which is quite similar to what they do in their emails. Then again, you go to a landing page, which is, as I said, tracked. And again, you're seeing that this is the same sender, the same advertiser that's showing the offers. It's TVs, phones, but that's not actually important. And again, this is an email, a retargeting email for people that were checking out and comparing different ions. Again, we have 5 different pieces marketing assets here. They all look similar. They all have similar feeling to them. So even if they're pre-conversion or post-conversion, you see them at, only after you've purchased something, or you see them at the very first moment. Every time you click through those things, you feel that this feels familiar. And the word scent includes those little things. It's like the overall design of your landing pages, of your digital ads, of your emails, the copy that you use in them, and the keywords. If you're using the same keywords in different digital marketing assets, then your audience may feel more familiar about your message. They might feel that it's re-emphasized, that they're in the right place, that they entered the right place, and that they will get the value that they expect from that specific page. And this applies to CTAs as well and other visual elements. So for example, if you're using any color scheme, if you're using pictures of particular people or places, they all will matter when people are clicking between the ads, the landing pages, the emails, and those things. So one thing that you need to do is make sure that you're keeping the scent between those different assets when you're sending the traffic between those elements. So the second thing that you should be doing is to continue the conversation between those elements. This is quite similar to keeping the send, but it's not quite the same thing. So here's an example from Hyundai. So if I actually had to find their Facebook page, but imagine that you're seeing their ad somewhere on Facebook, and this is their new car, Sonata, which, as they say, is about safety. Safety you'll appreciate. So if you click on that ad, what you should expect is something about that particular car, which is obvious, and something about that particular value, which is safety. And when you enter the website, it actually straight away tells you that you're in the right place. You can see that there's a video in the background. You have children playing football with their dad in front of the car. And if you have children playing in front of a car, that means it's a safe car, because otherwise you'd be running away from it, I'm guessing. If you scroll down the page, you can see that their copy is also about not only the comfort, which says here, but also about the awards that they are getting for safety, for their seatbelts and stuff like this. This is the kind of stuff that you expect. If I clicked on an ad which said, that this car is extremely fast, or something along the lines, or you're going to be the quickest one in town, then definitely, I guess, the ad should match the page. So on the page, there should be information about those specific values and what's important for me, for the qualities that are important for me. So this is the case with all the products. As you can imagine, that means you have to have different landing pages, different sections on the landing page, and the same goes for emails. You should be matching them with your audience's intention and what they're interested in. So another more down-to-earth example is this one from Andrew and Pete. These are marketing consultants from the UK. This is an image from in the past. You probably won't be seeing it right now on their Twitter page, but what I see here is some particular color scheme. I can see based on their picture that they're funny guys, and based on the communication that they've been putting out there on the Twitter, I can see that they're into humor, into jokes and stuff like this. So if you click on, if you decide to follow them, you will receive an auto DM message, so direct message, and straight away you'll get the direct message is going to say, "Oh no, an auto DM. Sorry about that. Feel free to revenge on us." Blah blah blah, all that stuff. And then you actually click on that link and go to their page, which carries on the same message. It continues the conversation that they started on their Twitter profile. So about the revenge, about the joke. The color scheme is still the same, and they're actually saying sorry for wasting your time for that auto DM message. You can choose what you're going to do about it. You click one option, and you've got your revenge, and they're still very sorry. And what they're doing here is offering you a free PDF ebook, which is usually worth £150, and it's their experience gathered in one ebook that's very valuable. It all goes together, the Twitter profile, the auto DM, the landing page, the thank you page, and the email. As you can see, all those things match together, and it was a short journey so far, but I guess with all their future campaigns, the journey will continue. But if you enter that page, the landing page, or you started with the email, all those things will match each other, so you will not feel that you're in the wrong place. That on one page they're quite funny, on the other one they're very formal, on the other one they're less formal, etc. All those things match together. So in my opinion, this is both keeping the scent, which makes sense, and continue the conversation, especially with getting the revenge and punishing them for using that auto DM. So the next thing that you can do is, and you should know, are your metrics and objectives. And this is often the case, especially with email marketing and all online marketing campaigns in general, is that we have some metrics, we know of metrics, but we don't know which ones are the key ones. So my idea here is, for example, when you're running email marketing campaigns, some marketers say that, the number one metric that I'm going to use is an open rate. But if you're trying to optimize your email campaigns or your whole customer journeys, are really open rates that important? Aren't they more a vanity metric, something that tells you how if it's okay, if it's not okay, but it doesn't tell you if you're actually making money out of that campaign. Unless you're trying to optimize for increasing your reach, open rate can often be just an information if you're not having any deliverability issues. So if your objective is to make money, then open rate isn't your primary KPI. At least it should be. So maybe it's a click-through rate. Sure, if you're trying to get as many people to register for your webinar or get as many people to enter your e-commerce site, it could be click-through rate. But at the same time, getting all the click-throughs from your emails, but not knowing how much money you're actually making, how many sales you're making, does it even matter? You can send the most beautiful email, with the trickiest subject line. You'll get plenty of opens, or you can put your CTA button. Put into your CTA button information that they'll get a free delivery on anything above $10, and then on the page it's not going to be the same thing. It's easy to rig the system and play the game and and get many click-throughs and opens, but it's not usually the end goal that you're after. So maybe it should be something different, a different metric. So maybe it's a conversion rate or your total number of conversions for that matter. This is actually something more applicable, something that's going to help you decide whether your campaign is actually making sense, if it's moving the needle for you and affecting your profits. But at the same time, if you have different products and you're running an e-commerce site and you send out an email campaign, you know that the conversion rate or the total number of conversions for that campaign is, let's say, 100. But 100 of which product? Of what value? How many products did the users buy when they entered your website? Did they buy multiple products or a single product? And this is actually something that's often the case when you're trying to analyze your email marketing campaigns. You set up goals in Google Analytics. You assign some specific value to your goals. But if you have different products, then it's quite difficult to know how much money you're earning from that campaign. So maybe what you should be looking at is the return on email sent or profitability of your email campaign. Then you have to actually step up your email campaigns, add UTM parameters to your links, create segments in your Google Analytics account to, for example, compare people that came from email and those who didn't. And ideally, use enhanced analytics, enhanced e-commerce in your Google Analytics to know exactly how much money you're making from your campaigns, because you'll have the dynamic information, dynamically provided information about the price of your products sent to your Google Analytics account. So maybe this is something that you should be looking at, and it's not open rate and click-through rate. Maybe this is something different. And again, if you're looking at different metrics and goals, there are so many of them, but at the same time, are you looking at short-term or long-term results? Because again, it's quite easy to rig the system and send out 5 emails within the same day and get more conversions. But is it going to outweigh the costs that you actually have to then go through when you're, for example, sending out too many campaigns? You'll get many more people unsubscribing from your email campaigns or complaining about those, moving your emails to junk folder and stuff like this. Do the additional conversions actually outweigh the cost of acquiring new people or your deliverability problems? So you have to make sure that you have all the right goals. The smart goals, the ones that you're going to be looking at, are the ones that you're actually going to be presenting to your boss. So make sure that you're looking at the things that actually matter. And the last point that I want to make here is, sure, trust your gut, but first trust data. Especially when you're optimizing your customer journeys and email campaigns specifically. There are so many things that you can be testing, and often gut feeling makes sense because it is based on our intuition and based on our past experiences. And it is often the case that great marketers have great intuition, but it's because our instincts tell us that this has worked in the past, or we've seen it before, it's familiar, this is going to work out well. On top of the gut feeling, there are also there's also data, and my suggestion for you is to actually use the data as much as you can and test different elements in your email campaigns. And the things that you can see here is just 5 things, most of them more strategic, but subject lines, for example, are more tactical as well. So you should be starting to optimize your email campaigns with these elements. For example, confirmed opt-in versus single opt-in. And our data from the email marketing benchmarks report that we do, and we're actually going to be publishing that in the next couple of weeks for the two quarters of 2018. The data shows us that confirmed opt-in improves results. So marketers that have confirmed opt-in lists, for example, in Germany, most marketers have them. Their results are much better. And the average results that we see in Germany actually are usually twice as good as the US one. Of course, the size of our sample and the size of our customer base in Germany is slightly smaller than the one in the US, but it is something that you should be looking into and testing yourself. The same goes for sending your emails at the right time. And again, you should be looking at the benchmarks, checking what the tests show. But in my opinion, that's why I put an asterisk here, is that you should be either testing it yourself with your own email database, or just using algorithms that are going to adjust the time of your send out based on individual subscribers' behavior. And that's what we do for our emails. And this is what's worked out for us in the past. And the data shows that this is the right approach. The same goes for mailing frequency. As I told you, the total number of conversions is important, but at the same time, it is important to look at other factors, such as the number of people that opt out from your lists or your list churn. So you cannot look at one metric and forget about the other ones. Again, subject lines and content and personalization. These are the things that help to improve open rates and click-through rates. Hopefully conversions too, because that's more difficult for us to benchmark globally. But these are the things that you want to start when you optimize your campaigns. So pay attention to those things. And if you want to access the email marketing benchmarks report, here's the link. We can send it to you over chat later on as well. And I'm going to pass the mic now to Sunit. If you have any questions, don't worry. You can ask them on the chat, and we will have the Q&A session later on. So once again, thanks, guys. And I'm turning off the mic for Sunit, or on for Sunit.
Great. Can everyone hear me okay as well? Perfect. Thank you. Loud and clear. Okay. Thanks for making some time for us. I should be able to get through this in about 15 or so minutes. Thanks for all the confirmation. I appreciate it, folks. I have 4 quick case studies I'm going to get to, but I prefer to take a bit of a circuitous route to get there, to sometimes anchor the things that we talk about as marketers or as business people into a broader context about life. So bear with me for a few moments, and I hope you appreciate some of the facts and data I'm about to share. But it does all tie together with the theme of what we're talking about here, which is just how do you improve the performance of your landing pages. You see Beyonce on the screen. In the event that you all don't like my presentation, one thing I've learned about presentations is managing expectations. So I can always just say, well, at the end of the day, I followed Beyonce, and sometimes that just helps give me some air cover. I want to start. There's this research report that came out, and it's called The Secret Financial Lives of Americans. And I recommend that you check it out. I think the data applies universally. It was picked up within 24 hours by a bunch of major media outlets, some very focused on industry, some with very broad reach, and some sort of new media companies. And the question is why? And one of the reasons why it stood out is the data that it shared. So I'll give you some examples of what was so powerful about this research report. The first is 52% of people admit to having cried because they don't have enough money. That was the first thing we talked about. The next thing they said was 37% of people have gone to sleep hungry because they didn't have enough money. These are powerful sentiments and powerful statements in today's world. The next is 44% of people, this is a bit US-centric, but 44% of people couldn't handle a $400 emergency without borrowing. So some material, quick emergency, and they couldn't handle it without borrowing money. So after all that talk about money, there was one fact and one data point that jumped out to me that I thought was relevant to us as marketers, as business people, as folks with customers. It was that 64% of people with financial advisors are currently unsatisfied about having someone to talk to about money. Think about that. 64% of people with financial advisors, that means people who are paying somebody to manage their money, are unsatisfied about having someone to talk to about their money. To me, that was a very powerful sentiment. And it talks a lot about, life as a customer today, which is you're getting bombarded with information, you're getting bombarded with emails, getting bombarded with social. As marketers, our instinct in the old way of doing things for so long was, if we wanted to be successful, just turn up the dial, send more email, post more on social, write longer blog posts, harass, harass, harass. And what's happened is customers now are not feeling like we're paying attention to them. And that's the biggest question. So you hear a lot of studies, and if you're, whether you're, working at Netflix trying to acquire a new subscriber, whether you're working in retail and trying to acquire, sell a new product, whether you're working in SaaS or B2B and you're trying to sell more software, customer acquisition costs and the cost to acquire a customer are on the rise and have been for years. And the biggest reason is we've dropped the ball. As marketers and as business people, we've dropped the ball. We've stopped paying attention. And that's the takeaway from that 64% metric, is when did we stop paying attention to the people who are paying attention to us? And that's sort of the macro theme that I want to use to talk about how to improve marketing performance and landing page performance. My name's Faith Bot, no big deal, right? Like, I am who I am. I'm not the important person here. These are some of the companies I've worked for and helped raise money for or turn around, or, in a variety of ways, companies I've been lucky to be a part of. Again, not the point of the presentation. The easiest way to fix your landing pages and your growth strategy is to pay attention to the people who are paying attention to you. I was asked to do this as sort of a 101. So I thought I'd focus on giving you 4 key takeaways or 4 questions you can ask yourself if you want to improve performance. The first is pay attention to what people see, pay attention to where people engage, look at what people skip, and then pay attention to where people differ. Sounds really basic, sounds really straightforward. 4 questions. I know some of you are looking at this presentation and saying, am I really wasting my time listening to this guy? I get it. Look, it's not rocket surgery, the stuff that I'm suggesting. CRO has the highest ROI of any marketing investment you will make. The data proves it. But only 1.7% of marketing budget right now is allocated to conversion rate optimization. So for all of the people on this webinar who are looking to improve conversion rate and how their landing pages perform, the biggest thing we can tell you is you're not putting enough time or money against it. And I have examples of that. This is what, according to eMarketer, this is what marketing technologists care about. This is what we all want, right? We want increased ROI, efficiency, want to be able to attribute marketing better decision-making, and gain a competitive advantage. All these things are possible through things like conversion rate optimization. But one thing I'll tell you is I think the biggest way to gain a competitive advantage is actually to pay attention. Why? Because less than half of marketers are doing something that can be categorized as CRO. Forget about whether or not they're doing full suite conversion rate optimization, full suite landing page optimization. We wanted to be as generous with this question as possible. And less than half of marketers are even doing something that can be categorized as CRO. And less than a third of marketers are paying attention to where people get stuck and why they aren't converting. There are people in the industry right now who tell you, hey, 5% of marketers are actually, 5% of your customers are engaging and converting. Ignore the remaining 95%. I'm not kidding. There are, powerful minds in the industry right now telling you to ignore the 95% of people that aren't paying attention. Not rocket surgery. Great podcast, by the way. Check it out. So the 4 questions. So now I'm going to give you 4 case studies of how I think we can pay attention, and the tools that we have at our disposal can be like our superpowers. The first thing you want to do is pay attention to what people see. It's really straightforward. This doesn't take a lot of time. This is a scroll map. You can get it in Crazy Egg. You can get it in a bunch of different products out there. In 15 seconds, you look at a website, and based on the heat, you can very quickly see where people are paying attention, where they're stopping, and where they're not. Again, it doesn't sound like this is something incredible and magical, but not many people are doing it. We know for a fact we have some data. The second layer of this is you start with people's attention. I see some comments about people, time and money, precious for small businesses. That's why I say look at tools like this where in 10 to 15 seconds, you can very quickly identify where people are paying attention. The thing that's really interesting for me about this website specifically is they took the next step. They aligned the call to action with where people are paying attention. It sounds like a really simple thing, but if you were to look at your page and naturally find where people are paying 100% of attention, where they're stopping, what you'd find is most people don't have their CTAs aligned to it. So we did 350 conversations with customers in Q3 and Q4. And the single most popular recommendation we had to make was to tell people, look at where your customers are paying attention and move your primary goal, whether it was a message or CTA, in alignment with that attention. And basically for all 350 of those people, of those conversations, that was like the first recommendation. And it's not rocket science. We would look at people and they would say, hey, this is my CTA. It's performing really well. I have a 3, 4, 5% click-through rate. And my feedback would be, yes, you have a 3, 4, 5% click-through rate on a page, but only 60% of people are even seeing that button. If you moved it to a place where 100% of people saw it, your click-through rate and your total number, your click-through rate may go down, but your total conversions would potentially go up, which is part of the problem with dashboards, right? They don't give you the whole picture. The second thing is where do people engage? So we ran this experiment ourselves. I'm happy to share very specific data ourselves. We had a Crazy Egg homepage. We get a lot of flack for the Crazy Egg homepage. There's nothing you can do on it. We've removed all distractions. This is the most optimized page I've ever been a part of. Very simple. There's one thing you can do on the page. You can enter your domain. We optimized, we've tested, we've adjusted the experience. If you click on a link at the bottom, you can scroll down and see some of our features. But we've aligned the CTA to 100% where people are paying attention. We've removed all distractions. And by doing that, we've added hundreds of trials each month. 33% increase in trial by doing nothing other than taking that CTA, aligning it 100% to where people are paying attention, and removing all distractions, right? So we're getting hundreds more trials every month simply by doing that. That's what I mean about paying attention. And this isn't a time-consuming exercise. Everything I'm talking to you about here, you could do this in less than 15 minutes, a week, and for less than $1 a day. So what do people skip? So we did this, Intuit, a division of Intuit uses Crazy Egg to sort of do conversion rate optimization in partnership with companies like Optimizely for very explicit A/B testing. But again, in this suite of their marketing technology of Crazy Egg. And one of the things that they did was they looked at their pricing page. And the dashboards and everything showed a lot of engagement. People, if you looked at the GA metrics, you got a lot of time on site. You did have some clicks and engagement, but low conversion rates. People weren't converting. And so the next thing they did was they went to a session recording tool. Whether you use Crazy Egg, use Hotjar, use Full Story. Again, there are tons of tools on the market that let you do this. Use the session recording. And instead of saying the pricing page had a problem converting, what they realized was that their pricing page was their primary education page. Because the behavior they saw in less than 20 minutes of watching videos, the behavior they saw was people coming, scrolling through the pricing page, and then instead of converting, going back up to the navigation and doing more discovery. They had come to the pricing page, anchored in an understanding of what pricing meant, and then they were going off to do more exploration. As a result of that, they've modified the experience, they changed the expectations of the pricing page, and they elevated that paying attention, better support, better product descriptions, better education, and then changing the way they think about goals, right? How do you think about goals? Is your pricing page your conversion page, or should it actually be the first part of exploration? Is it something you need to maintain the scent on? Where does it fit in the customer journey? And we helped Intuit completely rethink it. Again, we're talking 10, 15, 20 minutes worth of video watching. The last thing I'd say is, where do people differ? And when I talk about that 1.7% of people doing this, talk about folks who 1.7% of people paying attention to conversion rate optimization, not a lot of people investing this. So I can't give the specific company name, but I thought I'd feature it this way. I was on an hour call last week with the conversion rate optimization team of one of the companies featured here, a brand everybody on the call knows. And I was on with their conversion rate optimization team. And by that, I mean, at a company that was Fortune 50 in the world. They had a conversion rate optimization team of one person. Now, what does a person like that do? So this individual wanted to, could you imagine the pressure and the amount of work this individual has to do to be successful, to manage the optimization for a website like that? So if you're in an executive capacity, I encourage you to think about how you're investing in resourcing against this. But the second thing I would tell you is just, I have deep sympathy for this individual as a team of one responsible for optimizing a Fortune 50 website. What they wanted to do was design a support center. And they did a good job. So they used heat maps to understand engagement. They did some user interviews. They did a variety of things. And they came about and they presented a page. And I looked at the page and it looked like a good step forward. Again, impressive, super impressive for a team of one. And the question I asked was, okay, so like, who are the different people coming to this site, to this page? And with all the research and with all the enterprise tools at their disposal, they didn't stop to think about the different audiences that were arriving on this page, which goes to what we talked about earlier. And I think that's sort of the big takeaway for me when I think about landing pages, whether that's, a landing page is your homepage, it's a landing page for an ad traffic conversion. A landing page is a page you drive people to and expect them to learn something and take an action. And the biggest takeaway for me is based on referral. You have a homepage that should be targeted to a very specific set of users. Clone that and target people who are coming in via email, and keep expanding your landing page footprint. There's a lot of sideways traffic, people coming in from social, people coming in from paid. In the spirit of what we talked about earlier with maintaining the scent, like, the best landing page strategy is to clone and adapt your landing pages at scale for all the different referrals. I think of it as a landing page for every person. That's the dream. It's hard to get to, obviously. But the fact that many people aren't even cloning specific experiences for new versus returning visitors, for paid versus organic, for mobile, tablet, desktop. Crazy Egg has a tool that lets you, segment these visitors by 22 different variables, 100 different segments, and very quickly, again, with a few drop downs and checkboxes, you can start to identify the spread. Where are the big differences? Is there a big difference between new versus returning? Then you should be catering landing page experiences for those audiences. And the key point is, this isn't expensive and this isn't time consuming. And Crazy Egg isn't your only option. There are a number of tools out there. But in order to get good at landing page optimization and conversion rate optimization, the tool is somewhat less important. What's most important is that you commit to spending a little bit of time and paying attention to how customers are experiencing your site. It's not hard. This is one of my favorite facts. 95% of people rate their partner as smarter, more attractive, warmer, and funnier than average. So think about that, right? I fall in the 5%. My wife does not think I'm smarter, funnier, or more attractive than average. But for everybody else, I think it's interesting that we all think we're doing really well. We all think our instincts that we are better than average. But the truth is we're not. We're not investing correctly. We're not spending time correctly. We're not paying attention correctly. And I think that's the biggest differentiator when it comes to landing page optimization. If you just do the basic things we talked about, you will be differentiated. You will be better than a majority of your competition. I promise you, it worked for us. The last thing I'll say is paying attention isn't just for work. Look, it's for everything, right? This isn't just about your work. This isn't just about home. The big takeaway for me is I've learned more and more. I'm an old man with a graying beard. As I've learned more and more, I can't be different people at work and at home. I've got to be the same person everywhere. And paying attention is a mantra that has resonated for me because I don't think we do enough of it. And anytime I stop to think about, or I feel like I'm getting distracted or I'm making an excuse not to pay attention, I look at this picture of my dad looking at my newborn daughter from 4.5 years ago. We were in a crowded house. We brought my daughter home. Family and friends were over. And I look over in the corner, and while everybody's running around and having an amazing time, this is my dad lying on the floor, just looking at my daughter. just looking at my daughter, like paying attention to what matters most. Simple, blocking out the noise, eliminating distractions, focusing on the most important thing in his life. And it's a great level set. I don't think he even knew I took the picture. If you look at his eyes in this picture, you'll see he doesn't even notice me come in to take the photo. That's how we should be treating the teams we work with, the partners we work with, and the customers and clients who give us their time and attention and signal some intent by taking the time to visit the content we created, the website we've created, etc. And it's not hard, folks. Based on what I just laid out, I'm telling you 15 to 30 minutes a week, less than $1 a day for most of these tools, and you'll be able to do it. With that, thanks for giving me some time. Really great webinar. Honored to be a part of it, and I'm happy to stick around. I know there were some questions as we were talking, so I'm happy to answer any questions. And my email address is there. So if you take the time to email me in the spirit of paying attention, I promise you I will respond.
Thank you so much, Sunit. This has been great. I saw that there were some questions already, so in case you haven't registered the email addresses, they are here. We'll return to them later on. Let me just change the layout. So there was one question already. Maybe you can answer that one. It's a straightforward question. How can someone get started and implement the heat map on their page? And since this is your business, this is where you're into.
Sure. Yeah. So what I'll tell you is there are a number of tools out there. Everyone has a free trial. Crazy Egg is been around. We're the first, been around a long time, but everyone has different strengths. So I encourage you to explore the different trials. Installation is a couple lines of JavaScript, like you hear for everything on the page. For everyone, there are usually 3 ways of installing. There's a manual installation, so I'll cut and paste for you. The code is usually fairly straightforward. Most have integrations, so if you use WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, etc., there are integrations. And then there's also the ability to usually forward it to an engineer or somebody who's going to implement it for you. For Crazy Egg specifically, I can speak to the fact that if you are interested, through GetResponse, we have a 90-day trial. And if you email me directly, I will shepherd you to somebody who will help you install it. And I'm also happy to spend a little bit of time making sure you get the most out of it. That is our instinct. But again, lots of tools, lots of options, but pick one. Like do one. It's one of these tools should be on every website in the world. It's the easiest way to make the most out of every visitor and pay attention to folks.
Perfect. Thanks, Sunit. And how long do you think it usually takes to be able to actually generate a heat map like this?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How long do you think it takes to generate a heat map of someone's page? After implementing it on a page already?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your traffic, but minutes, right? So so a couple of wrinkles, right? So if you install the script, depending on your CDN and your partner, it could take up to an hour for the script to propagate. After that, it depends on your traffic, but the heat maps in recordings are available instantly. So, again, I'm not trying to sell Crazy Egg. I'm just telling you how we do it. But again, lots of options out there. I encourage you to explore it. But heat maps right away. So you can look at a heat map pretty much right away. And the installation is usually painless and straightforward. So we're talking minutes to get this sort of information. And recordings, we actually give you 10% free upfront because we want you to get recordings right away. And the sweet spot we've seen from the data is if you look at 12 recordings for a page that matters to you, you're going to have the insight. It increases the probability of somebody like converting and using a tool more after watching 12 recordings, because that means they've seen value and they understand the value of it. So 12 recordings, you're looking at, maybe 20 minutes if you skip pauses. So this is what I mean about it being really straightforward. But the tools install quickly, all of us have integrations, and you get the data fairly quickly. And I advise people 15 minutes. If you're spending more than 15 minutes in Crazy Egg to start, like you're wasting your time. 15 minutes, one big inspiration, and then do something about it.
Perfect. And one short comment on that one. We actually have been trying to redesign one page and checked out the recordings and heat maps are on our own. And one of the quick wins that you can get is I actually noticed some of the problems that you might have on a page. For example, one annoying pop-up that was appearing for everyone on that page who was even just trying to jump between tabs and not trying to actually leave the site. So after watching about 20 videos in a row where people were closing the tab and continuing to read our content, you know exactly my decision afterwards was just get rid of that annoying thing, which is actually, you know, covering the content that people came in for.
It's amazing what recordings do. So I mean, hopefully you gather it, but I believe that we're missing empathy with our customers. Like we have sympathy and we have an academic understanding of their challenges, but things like recording really let you watch a customer's frustration. And if you're, you know, if you're one person on a team who needs to make this case for, you know, to an executive or to an owner, these tools help you visualize the story and make a more compelling case about something you may already know, like a pop-up getting in the way. Sometimes you need the evidence to make that case. That's what these tools are great for also. And that's why I think they become your superpower, right? Like they become something that if you use correctly can make you hyper efficient and focused and a much more compelling educator to the rest of the company.
Exactly, that's true. I see one question from Patricia. She's asking whether this is only for is it only for landing pages, home pages, and is it for emails too? So let me just jump on that one. For GetResponse, we don't actually offer the heat maps, but I know there are external solutions like Litmus. I think offers something like this, an email and asset. So you can definitely use heat maps also to check out your email campaigns. I haven't noticed that many case studies on that one, so I'd be very interested to see the effects of this optimization. But definitely, you can use it for different elements of your email, of your marketing communication.
Yeah, I would build. Email is the most hostile environment for marketing technology. If you think of browsers, you have 10 different browsers that your product has to work on. In email, you have hundreds of ESPs. And hundreds of environments within which it has to work. And so the more complicated and sophisticated the message that requires tracking, requires HTML, requires an iframe, the more likely it is to break or to get sent into spam. So solving this problem is important. Some people do it, again, via HTML or iframe. But what that does is it's going to affect deliverability. So that's just something to be aware of. It's a great problem to try and solve. The thing that I would, the other thing I would tell you is, though Crazy Egg can't do heat maps in email, the thing we can do is work with a GetResponse. If you're using UTM codes, you can see how that audience performs on the site. So you can filter elements of the heat map, scroll map, quick map based on those campaign variables. So if you're using UTM tags in your links or any native GetResponse sort of quick tracking, you can customize that quickly into Crazy Egg or, again, any of the other tools. And you should be able to actually, that's not one. That's one I think is pretty exclusive. But you should be able to quickly identify email recipients from this campaign performed this way on this landing page. They engaged differently. We actually saw that for a customer during one of those 350 consults. It was really fascinating. People that came from email had a very quick payoff. They skipped all the content and they went straight to the bottom right sidebar and started engaging. And anybody that came organically to the site went straight to like the center column and primary text. And the recommendation there was you need two different experiences here because your email people are all the weighted content that you have in the middle, your email people don't care about. So those are the types of things you can learn. And that was, 2 minutes of analysis.
Absolutely true. And I have to admit, in our analysis as well, it turns out that usually the segment that comes from your email campaigns is the one that's usually seeing more pages per session, spending more time on your site and converting more likely than, just let's call them random people that come to you from a paid ad.
Yeah, email is your best channel, without a doubt. And GetResponse is great.
Thanks about that. So I don't think there are any more questions, but feel free, guys, to leave some of them in the chat pod or just by replying to the email that you receive later on. As I said before, we will be sending the recording of this webinar and the presentation slides if you'd like to check them out later. If you happen to have any questions for myself or for Sunil, let me just go back to to the presentation view so you can once again check out those emails. Sunit, it was a pleasure having you here today at this webinar. I've learned a lot as well, and I've enjoyed chatting with you beforehand and during the webinar. Once again, thank you.
Thanks for having me again. And I think it was alluded to in the chat channel, but we do have a partnership with GetResponse. So 90 days free. It's our most generous offer. And just email me if you're interested, and I'm happy to assist. But thanks for having me. Great turnout too. Nice work, and really just honored to be a part. You guys do a great job with these webinars. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks again, Sunit. And I've just pasted the link that Sunit just mentioned. Check out the getresponse.com/marketing toolkit, and there's the information about this exclusive extended free trial offer for Crazy Egg. If you're a GetResponse customer, just check it out and plug it into your GetResponse account. You can use it for your landing pages. As Sunit said, you can also link that with your emails, so you can see how the people that came from email performed on your landing page, and it can help you generate better insights into what is happening, what these people are interested in. And as Sunit mentioned and emphasized before, pay attention to your audience and you'll get the results. So once again, thanks everyone for joining us today, and speak to you soon.
Bye, folks.